So now we move from music into public health communication, and we have Roy Wadia, batch of 1978. And his interests lie in journalism, communications, advocacy, public health, media training, social marketing, and film. That's a really wide range. He meandered from one interest to another, and then he got into public health communications, and he decided to pursue journalism. And he's working for the HEROES project, an HIV HEROES is an HIV communications and advocacy NGO. It's still in Washington, D.C.?
No, it's actually based in Bombay.
It's based in Bombay now? Okay. And he's going to talk to us about Sex and the City, HIV in Bombay and Beyond, and how this virus flourishes in a mega city, and how the simplest steps towards eradicating the virus are also the most complicated, and very important, how school kids right here can help in saving millions of lives. Thank you, Roy.
Thank you all for having me here today. This brings back memories, one of the earliest ones being playing Lord Buddha on the stage in a strange Hindi play that was done by one of our Hindi teachers, and Tushar Talsania was the dacoit who I had to convert. So anyway, So I hope that I'll be converting a few of you to the cause that I hold very passionate today, which is HIV. Not the virus itself, but the awareness thereof. So the talk is called Sex and the City, Awareness, Compassion, and Empowerment in the Context of AIDS. This afternoon, somebody at lunch at the Willingdon Club said, "Oh, I love Bombay, it's such a lovely city." And I guess it is when you see it from so far away. And it still looks nice from a little bit closer. Not too bad, murky, smoggy, but not too bad. But maybe not so nice when you come to certain parts, even up close, even more. And certainly not nice when you go to the sex workers area, Kamatipura. By day or by night, it is pretty miserable. And the lives of the sex workers there, as you can imagine, are not fun. When HIV first surfaced in our country, Bombay was the epicenter. It actually still is in some ways. St. George's Hospital, this is a very old photograph, about 100 years ago, painting actually, was the ground zero. There was a Dr. Subhash Salunke, who I had the fortune of speaking with for a CNN piece that I did in 1993. He had a board on his wall which had 100 confirmed cases across the entire country at that time. He said the actual number must be in the millions by now already. This is, of course, the map of India with a nice Stop AIDS, Feel Good logo over there. India's highways are one of the major fueling sources when it comes to the spread of HIV. You can certainly think why. Long-distance truckers going across the routes, northeast, southwest, sex work sprouting up at the side. And when you see the actual highway system, it's even more intricate, and it's actually growing all the time. So the opportunities for the virus to spread are actually increasing. Our economic prosperity is, ironically, leading to the opportunity for this horrible condition. HIV is still known as Bombay disease, not only in our country, but also in countries like Nepal, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Sri Lanka. Because migrants who come from those countries to our country to work very often go back with HIV, and they pass it on to their wives and other partners. Right now we have statistics which say that an estimated 2.4 million people across the country have this condition. The real numbers may be much higher, they could be a little bit lower, but these are the best guesstimates at this time. The prevalence is 0.31% of the entire population, but we have a huge population, so you can imagine. And HIV is actually increasing, not decreasing in certain populations like gay men, which we in the HIV sector call MSM, men who have sex with men, and the IDU sector, which is injecting drug users, concentrated in certain parts of the country more than others, northeastern India, Punjab, and so on. What drives HIV actually? And this is a very complex issue. HIV is one of the most complex health situations in the world because it's not just a health situation. It is driven in large part by criminalization. When you make gay men criminals, when you make sex workers criminals, IDUs criminals, you drive the epidemic underground. That leads to stigma as well. And when you ostracize, when you push aside a whole sector of the population, the stigma that we feel towards them and that they start feeling towards themselves actually fuels HIV. Secrecy is not hard to imagine. When you have to lead a stigmatized secret life, HIV actually flourishes. And then there is the very practical fact of having sex, which is you need to have a physical safe space. We don't have many safe spaces in our country, and especially not in our city. People have to snatch their sort of intimate moments when they can. And we've seen what happens when we have a police drive, Inspector Doble, shutting down gay bars and other safe spaces, which drives people to have sex in the most unlikely places, like Churchgate Station. If you are a gay man who's got no safe space to go to, you can't bring your partner home, you can't go to his home. Where do you go? You have furtive encounters in public toilets. This is the reality that many men around the world even now face, and especially in our country and in countries like ours, where we have a huge stigma towards gay sex. But in the anonymity of our city, with the huge numbers, sometimes it's easier for stigmatized populations to hide. So you have the internet now, which of course tells you where you can go and cruise, where you can meet people. You've got gay communities sprouting up online. But the thing is that, once again, the HIV awareness is very low, and so with this internet mobility, HIV is also on the increase. You've got these applications for your smartphones where you can actually pinpoint gay men around you, for instance, so you can hook up on the spot. And you've got gay Bombay and forums like that, which are meant to be support groups, but they can only reach so many people, and they have a certain amount of limited influence. So for educational purposes, they're not absolutely ideal. Bollywood has done a very bad job of portraying gay people. You have them in films like Dostana, where they are caricatures, and they are funny people who people love and sort of poke fun of, but in the end they're still alone. I mean these two guys in the film aren't gay; they're actually straight, acting as though they're gay. But at the end of the film, they're sort of left alone, and the other guy gets the girl. You've got some sensitive films like My Brother Nikhil, which has been shown across the world. But of course, there the gay guy has HIV and he dies at the end. Or you've got a film like Phir Milenge, which bombed at the box office because people didn't want to see Salman Khan portraying somebody who had HIV. Even filmmakers like Meera Nair, when they are searching for characters to play HIV-positive roles, have a very, very hard time. She said doors slammed in her face when she was searching for people. So Heroes Project, we thought we would take Bollywood stars, we would take famous people and make them speak about HIV. So we work with the top stars in the film industry and other corporates. We work with the politicians, we work with the Prime Minister's office. I just wanted to show you one example of how we can use film stars. And if I can find the arrow on this and scroll to it, there we go.
Yeah, of course. टॉपिक तो बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है, लेकिन देखिए आप गलत आदमी से बात कर रहे हैं.
क्या सब?
देखिए हम लोग मिडिल क्लास के कंजर्वेटिव लोग हैं.
ये एड्स के चक्कर में हमको कहाँ फंसा रहे हो साहब? वो तो बड़े लोग का हरकत है.
सी HIV एड्स वगैरह ये हमारे सर्कल में तो ये अनपढ़ लोअर क्लासेस में ज़्यादा होता है.
ये एज या तो लोअर क्लास में होता है या अपर क्लास में होता है. आप उनसे क्यों नहीं पूछते?
तो उनसे बात कीजिए.
उन्हीं से पूछो.
Most people believe that AIDS cannot happen to people like them. Yet every minute, someone in India gets infected with HIV. Inform yourself. Get to know more about AIDS.
So, when you have these famous stars, Amitabh and others, speaking about HIV, does it have any impact at all? Only about half the time. We actually found that when we asked sex workers, gay men, and other high-risk groups, if you thought film stars were actually helping you with your cause. They said only for certain specific issues. So for instance, Salman Khan doing an ad for condoms, gay men find him sexy, so yes, that helps. But him doing something for females, no, that does not. What they really want is for the healthcare sector to be involved, much more than stars. They want doctors, nurses, because the stigma in the healthcare sector is one of the biggest hurdles that we have in our country towards fighting HIV. We have a survey that was done in 2010, UNDP did it, which shows that almost half of healthcare workers don't want to even be with folks who have HIV. About 40% of the people living with HIV say that their confidentiality has been actually violated by the healthcare sector. They have very poor quality healthcare when they are in the hospitals, and women are actually sent home. They're not given access to healthcare about 1/4 of the time. There was another study. They did about 400 nurses who were asked what they thought about HIV, and about 70% of them in these two cities said that people with HIV get what they deserve. One of my colleagues who has HIV was in danger of having one of her fingers amputated, so she asked the doctor, is there any way to save this finger? And this is at JJ Hospital about 6 months ago. He said, why are you just worried about your 2 fingers? What difference does it make if your whole hand is chopped off? This is in this day and age. So insurance also, if you are HIV positive, you don't get health insurance. I'm going to skip this one. Children, everyone talks about saving children and being there for the kids, but kids with HIV are horribly, horribly stigmatized. They're sent out of school, they are spurned by their own families, and there are, of course, special orphanages, but they are ghettoized. They are not part of the school population. So that brings me to one of the relevant topics, sex education. We don't have sex education. Maybe Bombay International does. I don't know. I was in Standard 9 here when I was given sex education, by which time we knew about the issues years and years earlier. We are still debating on forums, do we need sex education? Recommend sex education for school, college students. Recommendations, debates going on and on to launch self-sex education. What does that mean? Do you go and read about it in a small private corner by yourself? I don't know what it means. So there is this amazing program called TeachAids, and this website is teachaids.org. And it was started by folks in Stanford who are from India, and they work all over the world. And they do sex education using animation of famous people. So they'll use characters like Shabana Azmi and others.
Prevention is better than no cure. A doctor's visit. Hello there. What can I do for you?
Doctor, I've heard a lot about HIV, but I don't really understand what it is. Could you explain, please?
Sure. It's a very serious health topic.
So you get the idea, basically. I'm actually running short of time, so I'm going to speed through the rest of the slides a little bit. Okay. So in school, what drives stigma? We know about bullying in school, right? I think some of us have actually been there in the past. I know that I have. The thing is that when you start bullying in school, especially homophobic taunting, it can get ingrained. And if the person is actually gay, they self-internalize it. And that stigma gets carried with them through the years. So there are actually studies which show that those who have been bullied in school and who have actually internalized it are 4 times as more likely to try to commit suicide, and they are X times likely to be more vulnerable to the HIV infection. So the UN itself has said that if we don't address homophobia, it will lead to an increase in HIV across the generations. I just wanted to end with a personal note. The first gay film made in our country was made by my brother Riyadh. It was called Bombay. He was a student of this school. He was the head boy, actually. Some of you, I'm sure, know of him, and some of you knew him as well. He was an openly gay person. He was a gay activist. He was very much in your face. In fact, the first thing he would tell you when you met him is that I'm gay, and if you have any problem with it, then, you know, bugger off. So everyone thought that he was this flamboyant, out and proud person, and yes, he was, on the surface. But I'll tell you something about Riyadh. He had AIDS, and he did not take any medication, even though he had access to it, because he felt internally that he was not worth it. He felt that his life as a gay man ultimately did not matter one whit. And I don't know where he got that stigma from, because we thought he had a great support system. But there was something that happened to him along the way in his life's journey that really killed the internal will to live and to be counted as being equal like anybody in this room today. And so I just wanted to end with that, because, you know, I mean, one can't say who will have HIV and who won't, but I can tell you that unless we don't take steps collectively to understand it more, to understand the vulnerabilities more, we will not be able to stop it. And that's why starting in schools with the proper education, the proper awareness, the proper empathy is what has to happen. And I think this school is one of the best places for this kind of conversation to start. So we have a city where we have ARV, we've got all the access now in the world, but do we have a heart? So that's it from me. If you'd like to contact me and take this conversation further, any of your kids, I would be very happy to speak with you and let you know how you can help as well. Thanks a lot.